Greetings, YouTube! I saw the gameplay footage they played for this a while back, and I was intrigued by the idea of shooting hordes of velociraptors in the face. Now, they said at the time they were going to do something interesting with the mission designs. Well, if I had £1 for every time a video game corporate entity promised me an awesome and unique experience, I'm pretty sure I'd be a millionaire by now. If I had £1 for every time they overpromised and underdelivered, I'd own 90% of all the world's wealth. What I'm saying is, I approach such public statements with extreme skepticism. Turns out, though, I needn't have worried. Now, the beta has finished, and I have to say, I quite liked it. It really does feel, to me at least, like they actually have tried to do something interesting. Instead of creating individual mission types where you repeat the same action for the whole length of the level, wipe out the opposing team, escort a payload, all that typical stuff, this doesn't do that. Instead, this has levels where random attacks or events occur at pre-specified places. Now, the only game mode available for the beta here was Dino Survival, and for those of you who didn't play or see the beta, it works something like this. 2 teams of 5 players apiece compete to be the first to basically finish their to-do list. Both teams exist in different game spaces to each other. They're in the same level, but they're out of phase. You can see their ghostly silhouettes as they run around doing things. And presumably they can see you as well, because that would make sense. But they don't physically interact with each other. They are in completely different events. So instead, what you do is you move to a location, in this game mode at least, and battle incoming waves of dinosaurs. You wipe out enough of the target type of dino, and the wave ends. Moving on to the next location, repeat and rinse. Rinse and repeat. I got that the wrong way around. Who cares? And so on and so forth. Now, sometimes you deal with the standard Velociraptor cannon fodder. Sometimes you're dealing with a wing of pteranodons swooping overhead. Sometimes it's a number of famously spitting Dilophosauri. Or possibly you might have to go up against dinos which are kind of unique in this game, which are the Neosaurs. You've got the suicidally explosive ones, or you've got the elusive stealth ones. And to be honest, they're all massive pains in the arses for different reasons. I've been blown apart by the suicide bombers and zapped by more of the stealth ones than I care to think about. Or instead of fending off waves of dinosaurs, the game could just decide to send a massive armoured Goliath against you, a Triceratops, an Ankylosaurus, or just a friggin' T-Rex. Now, where this game gets creative is in how it maintains a competitive edge between the 2 teams. Because normally if one team is, frankly, better coordinated or just better, they normally streak ahead and the losing team is given no chance to catch up. Here, however, if one team is behind, they're given opportunities to make the winning team's life a fucking misery. And I love it. Either the losing team kills a target dino and then kills a huge number of other dinosaurs, and that increases the difficulty of the winning team's next wave, or one of your team members takes direct control of an armoured brute of a dino to wreak havoc on them directly. And this is one of the few times where your team do interact directly at this point. And it is as fun, devastating and game leveling as it sounds, because seriously, if you played the beta, I hope you had at least one go of this. I got my mitts on a T-Rex at one point. Remember that the 2 teams normally can't interact with each other, but this is a bit of an exception and it was seriously cool. Now, some areas play host to a Carnage module. whatever the hell one of those is. Basically, it means it brings forth the size and scale of enemy swarm you normally only see in movies. We're talking truly apocalyptic numbers. It's the kind of event that makes you think Starship Troopers and Avengers Endgame could have tried a teensy bit harder. And yet you still have to make those kills. It's friggin' awesome, if only to watch the swarm surge down the sides of buildings and over obstacles. It kind of reminds me of the rats in A Plague's Tale. Each individual causes that flow effect where the swarm just flows towards you. It doesn't so much jump, climb or run. It's more like a wave that comes towards you. And it means that the winning team is given a superior challenge because they're doing better, and the losing team is given a chance to catch up. And I thought it was invariably in the games that I played, it did really help keep the two teams level. And at no point, even when we were losing, did I feel like we were utterly screwed. And it was actually really good fun. In previous games where I have done player-on-player things like fighting games or anything else, I've always felt that the best matches were where it goes right down to the wire. Even if you lose, it's oh, which one's going to get there first? Come on, we can still do it. Ah, shit, we didn't do it. But you still had fun. I love those kind of things. And this game seemingly uses this system to encourage this. Almost every single level was like this. It was brilliant. I loved it. Now, when you reach the end of the path, you are teleported into a new area for the final event. And it's here. It's this final event where the two teams are teleported into the exact same space. Not just their own versions of the same level, but in the same space as each other. They can now shoot each other. And it's a final contest where you compete to either push a load, or collect a certain number of power cells, or hammer a shield generator into oblivion. The final challenge is, like quite a lot of things in this one, it's randomly selected. So you don't know what you're going to get until you turn up, and whoever finishes first wins. In effect, what all this means is that Dino Survival Mode is both a 5-on-5 PvP and PvE at the same time. It's an interesting idea, and as it turns out, it works very well the way they've built it. It's very good. Now, each player wears an armoured exosuit, of course. Now, for the beta, there were 10 exosuits. They were grouped into Assault, Tank, and Support. In the Assault group, you've got the classic one with the assault rifle, the one cosplaying as a ninja, the one with the grenade launcher, and the one with the sniper rifle. Now the tanks, they're represented by the one with the now classic barrier shield, the one with the minigun, and the one cosplaying as a samurai. Last, and no matter what anyone else ever says, never least, the support class, because it's my favourite, the scrappy one, the flying one, and the one who couldn't make up her goddamn mind, because she has 2 pairs of pistols, one for damaging the enemy, one for healing her allies. I quite liked her. Now, 10 exosuits, 10 classes effectively, 10 characters if you like. That doesn't sound like a lot compared to other games where you beat the crap out of either, environmental things or the other players. 10 doesn't sound like a lot, but I never for one moment felt like the roster was understaffed. At all. I felt like all the major bases were covered, and I liked the variety of powers each exosuit had. It took me a little bit of getting used to Zephyr, who was the ninja, but it only took me a couple of matches to get used to him. Took me a little while longer to adjust to Barrage, the Grenadier, but I personally put that down to a bit of lag that I had in my first match with him. I couldn't actually tell what one of his powers was doing. It was actually firing 3 remote explosives at the ground. But thanks to the lag and the sheer number of enemies on screen, I couldn't see what it was doing. So, it takes a bit of getting used to each exosuit to learn its powers. But honestly, there were no bad suits on the roster. And this wasn't even the full roster. Which kind of leaves me wondering what possibly they could have still waiting in the wings for us. I mean, I have one that deploys turrets, I guess? Well, maybe not turrets, because you can actually... There are deployables in the game. They're like shield walls and platforms and turrets. So maybe not one that deploys turrets. One that fires rockets. One that teleports. Yes, I am going through the Overwatch roster. Overwatch is the standard. Now, at first, I thought to myself, why does every exosuit have the same shoulder-mounted proton cannon? It turns out, I didn't realise this at first, but from the character selection screen, you can also switch out that cannon for an extra piece of kit. You can swap it to something else. You can swap it to a healing charge, a dodge, a shield, a giant lawnmower blade, which I loved. I used that quite a bit, did I? It allows for a small amount of customization on top of the normal powers that the suit has. And you can swap these extra bits of equipment out in the field. It resets the cooldown timer for it, but you can swap it in the field. And speaking of which, you can switch armors in the field as well. Oh yeah, right in the middle of a fight if need be. I mean, if you did, you'd be dead in 2 seconds flat, I suspect, without the armour. But you can if you want to. If it's safe enough, you can just switch out. It allows you and your team to flex according to the situation in real time. You suddenly realise you're going up against one of those Carnage modules and you think, maybe the Samurai was a bad idea. Maybe I should go for the one with the Gatling gun. You can do that. You can switch out. I appreciate the hell out of being able to switch on the fly and how convenient it is. Not running all the way back to your home base to switch equipment or armours. Honestly, when all said and done, this beta surprised me. I wanted to keep on playing it after it ended. I didn't expect it to be so varied, and bearing in mind that this is just one game mode, I didn't expect it to be quite so varied or well built, because again, it's a beta. Bad experiences and all that, because you expect betas to be a bit unstable. It is another live service game, but it is a well constructed one. It has variety. And again, one game mode and only 10 armours. It has effective armour classes. It has the super swarms, bigger than most Hollywood blockbusters. And as I say, this isn't everything in the final game. Just one game mode and 10 armour classes. The final game has, allegedly, more than this. I don't know how many more, but it has more. And I did not experience, despite it being a beta, I did not experience any actual performance issues with it. No glitches, no nothing. A little bit of lag here and there, but it's an online game and everyone's obviously swarming to it for the beta, like I did. The matchmaking itself is excellent. Usually took me about a minute to get into a match. Minute and a half, 2 minutes sometimes when it was slow, but it's nowhere near as slow as some other games I've played. I mean, I remember back in the day with PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. Holy shit, the matches initially lasted something like 3 minutes. I'd be waiting 5 minutes to get into a match, you know what I mean? You shouldn't be waiting longer than the length of the match. Nowhere even close to that kind of performance here. There is an in-game unit of currency, I forget off the top of my head what it's called, and I don't care. But it's the bullshit currency. Who cares what they called it? But there was nothing to spend it on, which is just as well, because apparently your progress is not going to carry across to the main game anyway. But there is the bullshit currency, and we can probably expect some kind of marketplace with purchasables on it. Obviously, because it's a live service game. But it's nice to know that you can earn the currency. I've no doubt that you'll be able to buy it as well. Now, I have recently, I say recently, for the past few months, I've been operating on a general policy of waiting for price drops and not chasing current releases for my video reviews of late. I may have to ignore that policy for this one because I really did enjoy it. I remember Mass Effect 3's multiplayer with a great amount of fondness. And yes, I know, it was a repetitive horde shooter. But I liked the huge number of character classes, the huge number of weapons, the power range, the equipment. Yes, I know, again, it had microtransactions, and yes, I hate them as well. But I never bought those, and I unlocked a ton of stuff in that game. I just used to run the silver missions after a while, and you used to get tons of cash for buying stuff. Exoprimal, to me at least, feels like it's scratching that same itch. And I'm actually itching to play more now. I'm kind of looking forward to it.